Imagine living in a world where making even the smallest sound could get you killed. No talking, no shouting, no crying, not even a dropped object. Something has taken over the world, and it doesn't need to see you to find you. All it has to do is hear you. And for one family, silence isn't just a choice anymore. It's their only chance of survival. But before we see how they fight back, we need to go back to the beginning. The movie opens on a town that looks like everyone disappeared overnight. The streets are deserted, the shops have been abandoned, and not a single person can be seen anywhere. Inside one of these stores, a family quietly searches through the shelves for food and medicine. This is the Abbott family. Lee and Evelyn Abbott are traveling with their 3 children, Reagan, Marcus, and young Beau. But something immediately feels strange. Nobody says a word. Instead, they communicate using sign language. And there's a terrifying reason for it. The world has been invaded by creatures that hunt anything that makes a sound. So the Abbotts have learned that even the smallest noise could be their last. But unfortunately, one of the children is about to make a mistake that will change everything. As the family prepares to leave the store, Beau discovers a toy rocket. Naturally, the young boy wants to take it with him. Lee immediately knows it's dangerous. He removes the batteries and puts the toy back. But Beau isn't ready to let it go. Later, Reagan quietly gives the toy back to him. And what nobody realizes is that Beau has managed to get batteries for it. The family begins walking home along a path covered with sand. Lee created the path specifically so they could move around without making much noise. Everyone walks barefoot. Everyone follows the rules. Everything seems under control. Until Beau turns on the toy. A tiny electronic sound suddenly cuts through the silence. Lee immediately turns around. The look on his face says everything. He knows what's coming. He races towards his son, but something is already moving through the darkness. Beau barely has time to react. The creature attacks, and within seconds, the youngest member of the family is dead. Lee reaches him moments too late. He picks up his son's body and holds him in silence. The family has spent months learning how to survive, but one tiny sound has just taken everything from them. And after this tragedy, their lives will never be the same. Months later, the story jumps to day 89. The Abbotts are still alive, but their home now looks less like a house and more like a survival bunker. Red lights surround the property. Sand paths cover the ground. Lee has built equipment to monitor the creatures. Every object has a purpose. Every movement is carefully planned. Because in this world, making one wrong move could bring death straight to their doorstep. Yet despite all these precautions, one problem remains. The family hasn't recovered from Beau's death. And nobody feels that pain more deeply than Reagan. Reagan carries an enormous amount of guilt. She believes giving Beau the toy was partly her fault. And worse, she thinks her father blames her. Lee, meanwhile, is desperately trying to protect what's left of his family. But his fear has created distance between him and Reagan. He isn't angry because he doesn't love her. He's distant because he's terrified of losing another child. And while father and daughter struggle to communicate emotionally, Lee is secretly working on something that could change their chances of survival. Lee has been studying the creatures. He's using radios to search for other survivors, but nobody responds. So he turns his attention to the creatures themselves. Their hearing is incredibly powerful. They can detect even the faintest sound. But Lee suspects that such incredible hearing might also be their weakness. Meanwhile, Reagan continues using her hearing aid. At this point, neither of them realizes that this tiny device could eventually become the key to defeating the monsters. And then, as if things weren't dangerous enough already, the family faces another problem. Evelyn is pregnant. Lee takes Marcus to a nearby waterfall. The roaring water is so loud that the creatures can't hear their voices. For the first time in a long while, father and son can speak normally. But this isn't simply a quiet moment between them. Lee is preparing Marcus for the possibility that he might not always be there. He teaches him how to survive, how to stay calm, and most importantly, how to protect his family. But neither of them knows just how soon those lessons will be needed. Back at home, the tension between Lee and Reagan continues. Reagan feels like her father no longer trusts her. She believes Beau's death destroyed their relationship. But what she doesn't understand is that Lee is carrying his own guilt. He couldn't save Beau, and now he has become obsessed with making sure the same thing never happens again. Unfortunately, the next disaster is already beginning, because Evelyn is about to give birth. Evelyn suddenly goes into labor, and in this world, Childbirth is terrifying. A mother giving birth naturally makes noise. A newborn baby cries. And the creatures are always listening. Lee has prepared a special room in the basement. There's an oxygen supply and a sealed box where the newborn can be kept safely. It is the best plan they have. But plans don't always survive contact with reality. And Evelyn is about to discover just how badly things can go wrong. While walking through the house, Evelyn accidentally steps on a nail. Pain shoots through her foot, but she can't scream. She grips the staircase and forces herself to stay silent. Then she realizes the situation has become even worse. Her water has broken. The baby is coming. Evelyn switches on the red lights outside, signaling to her family that something is wrong. Then she begins making her way towards the basement. Every step hurts. Every second is dangerous. And somewhere outside the house, something is listening. Evelyn reaches the basement and begins giving birth alone. She has to endure the pain without making a sound. Eventually, the baby arrives. She immediately places the newborn inside the prepared box and gives the baby oxygen. For a moment, she can finally breathe. But that moment doesn't last, because the creatures have already detected movement around the house. And now Evelyn is trapped inside with her newborn. Outside, Marcus and the others are still trying to survive. The creatures are closing in. Fortunately, Lee has prepared one more trick: fireworks. The moment they begin exploding, the entire area is filled with noise. For the family, it's the perfect distraction. The fireworks allow them to move without immediately revealing their positions. But there's a problem. Fireworks don't last forever. And when the explosions stop, the silence will return. Inside the house, Evelyn hears something moving. The creature has entered. It slowly searches the rooms, opening its strange facial structure as it listens for movement. Evelyn stays hidden. She knows that even breathing too loudly could expose her. The creature moves closer, then closer again. For a moment, it seems like there's nowhere left to hide. But Evelyn manages to stay completely silent. Meanwhile, her children are fighting for their own lives. Reagan and Marcus are separated from their parents. They desperately try to find each other. Eventually, they reunite. But before they can relax, they find themselves near a grain silo. They fall inside and begin sinking into the grain. Marcus panics. The more he struggles, the deeper he sinks. Reagan tries to save him. And for a terrifying moment, it looks like both children could disappear beneath the surface. But they refuse to give up. The children desperately fight their way out. They know they can't scream for help. They can't call their parents. They have only one option. They have to save each other. Eventually, they escape. But the creatures are still nearby. And now, the children are beginning to understand something their parents have known all along. In this world, nobody is coming to save you. You have to survive yourself. Just when things seem hopeless, Lee finally finds them. For a brief moment, the family is reunited. But there's no time to celebrate. The creature is still hunting them. Lee desperately tries to get his children somewhere safe. But he knows the creature can hear almost everything they do. And then Lee realizes something terrifying. There may not be a way for all of them to survive. Marcus and Reagan take refuge inside a vehicle. The creature approaches. Then it attacks. The children desperately try to escape as the monster tears through their hiding place. Lee arrives and tries to protect them. But the creature keeps coming. And now, Lee understands exactly what he has to do. He has spent the entire movie trying to keep his family alive. But this time, saving them will cost him everything. Lee reaches his children. He looks at Marcus, then at Reagan. And in that moment, there is no need for words. Lee signs that he loves them. He knows what comes next. He deliberately makes a loud noise. The creature instantly turns towards him. Marcus and Reagan watch in horror as their father becomes the target. Lee has sacrificed himself, not because he has given up, but because he refuses to let his children die. The creature attacks Lee. Reagan and Marcus can only watch. Their father has given his life so they can escape. And for Reagan, the moment finally destroys the guilt she has been carrying. Her father never blamed her for Beau's death. He never stopped loving her. Everything he did was an attempt to protect his children. And with his final act, Lee proves it. But his death is about to reveal something that could change everything. Back at the house, Reagan's hearing aid suddenly begins producing a strange feedback sound. The creature reacts violently. It becomes disoriented. Reagan notices. She tries it again. The creature reacts again. And suddenly, Reagan realizes something. The hearing aid is hurting the creature. The very thing that has always been a source of difficulty for her may actually be the weapon they've been looking for. Reagan experiments with the frequency again. The creature reacts even more violently. Its protective facial plates open, exposing the vulnerable tissue underneath. Now she understands. The monsters aren't invincible. They have a weakness. And that weakness is a specific sound frequency. The problem is that the hearing aid isn't powerful enough to kill them on its own. They need something stronger. And fortunately, the family already has exactly what they need, a shotgun. The creature attacks the house again. Evelyn grabs the shotgun. She has already lost Bo. She has lost Lee. And she's not about to lose Marcus and Reagan too. Reagan activates the hearing aid. The creature becomes disoriented. Its vulnerable interior is exposed. Evelyn fires. The blast tears into the creature. For the first time, the family has discovered a way to actually hurt these monsters. But there's no time to celebrate, because another attack is coming. But this time, the family doesn't panic. They know exactly how to hurt them. Evelyn loads the shotgun. Reagan prepares her hearing aid. And as the creatures close in, the family gets ready for the fight they've been waiting for. The same sound that once threatened to destroy them could now become humanity's greatest weapon. And after spending almost 90 minutes hiding from these monsters, the Abbott family is finally ready to hunt them back.